Hello there, team. This is Jimmie Williams again with module number 7. Guys, I'm super excited again. You know, you always hear me talk about the excitement of the group and of the team. And if some of you are getting this module or you're getting this whole video series, the 12 module series, and you're not following me on Facebook or any of the other outlets that I have, like YouTube, you're just buying the series, well, kudos to you guys too. I'm not trying to leave anyone out. This is a ton of information that I'm covering. It's a 12-part module series, and we're going to start doing the second half of that module, of these modules, from 7 to 12. And we're at a pivotal point in this where I'm going to be discussing a ton of things that I think are some of the basic principles of wholesaling. And one of the main things that's often left out and not really discussed, especially for newbies, is the REOs department. Okay, a lot of people ask me a ton of questions once they get involved. You know, I have over 500 students, guys, and most of them, when they get into this, they have no idea of how, you know, what are the do's and don'ts of REOs. They have no clue. They don't know where to start. They don't know how to structure their business properly to be able to, you know, you know, if they want to double close an REO or if they want to, you know, assign it to someone else. They don't know the process of how it works, so they want to know if it's possible. And the answer to those questions, I'm going to answer them now. I created this other video that I have, and you guys, most of you have seen it. And I talk about the do's and don'ts of REOs, what you can and can't do with them if you're going to get them through my company. But in general, you know, some people have different rules and regulations depending on where you get the REO list from. That's the first thing you need to know. But if you want that video, just email me. You can visit my website as well and contact me. I'm going to pull up my website right now. jwacquisitionsanddevelopment.com. Okay, jwacquisitionsanddevelopment.com. You can go there and leave a message and say, hey, listen, Jimmie, I want your video on REOs. I want that content. Please email it to me at this email address, and I will get it over to you as soon as I can, or someone from my staff will. But yes, let's get right into it. Again, kudos to you guys. I give you all the utmost respect and honor for being a part of our team. We have many realtors, investors / wholesalers. Then you have some guys that you know, they're just making extra money. They don't consider themselves a real estate investor or wholesaler. They're just doing 1 or 2 deals here and there. I salute all of you. I salute all of you, pardon me, because you're getting things done. You're getting the job done. You're getting the results. Some of you are making $10,000 and $15,000 on a deal. You know, some of you are signing contracts and you're doing double closings and you're making $30,000 to $40,000 on deals. Some of you are doing you took my advice and you did exactly what I told you to do with multifamily. You know, some of you got your first hotel deal done. You know, you put that property, you actually went out and found the buyer for it, got direct access to the seller, you know, and at the closing table, you guys are walking away with $80,000, $90,000, and $100,000 payouts. Okay, after that buyer pays that 3% fee, you guys are getting paid. I mean, there's millions of dollars that's being funneled through our online Facebook group. We set a yearly goal of $100 million, and guess what? We're like about $35 million into it, and we're only in the month of May. So we have another 7 months to go. If you're watching this in that time frame in May, you know, we're there. Some of you may watch this much later, but my point is there's lots of productivity being done in the group, and I think it's essential and very important and critical that you understand how REOs work if you're going to, you know, if you want to build your portfolio one day, if you want to ever work with hedge fund companies and, you know, and because these guys buy in big bulk, you can do some things with REOs and make a ton of money. And I'm going to go over that with you right now. All right. So let's get right into it. This is module number 7. Get your pen and paper out. Get ready to move on this thing. Okay. Let's make it happen. Okay. So what is an REO? All right. REO stands for real estate owned properties. Basically, these properties, which they get, okay, let's start, let's just read it verbatim. These properties, they get reclaimed by the bank or government agency, which finances their mortgage after failing to sell at a real estate auction. That's the key point. So they fail to sell these properties at an auction. Generally, REO properties get sold on an open real estate market using a real estate agent or in bulk sales to investors. So that's important to remember. All right. So they get sold primarily 2 ways. On the open market, the open real estate market using a real estate agent and or in bulk sales to investors. And I'm going to deal more about how to sell it, how the investor side works, because, I've seen both. I've actually did REOs where I actually had a real estate agent, a real estate broker, an agent/agent. They came to me with some properties, and they had a certain protocol how they dealt directly with the bank with these properties. And then I had one of my mentors. He would send me, and he still does occasionally. He sends me REOs directly from. He sends me these lists like twice a month through an inside source that he knows who works inside the auction houses. Certain websites that I'm going to go over later, like down here, Hubzu.com, Zome.com, Auction.com, and RealtyBid.com. These companies list certain properties, but there are people that work on the inside that that really work great with the corporate and upper management. So they have the ability to pull these properties off of, if you see them online being auctioned online, they pull them, and we get direct access to them. So that's the primary two ways. So you work through a realtor, and they get them from the bank, or you can go inside. If you know someone on the inside, that's the best thing to do, because you can work with them. And if you guys can get, big time buyers like hedge fund companies, I'm going to go over that in a moment. You can make a ton of money with these. And I highly advise, and all this is in that other video that I have, but I highly advise staying away from REOs if you're a newbie, especially if you're a newbie and you're not a cash buyer. All right. If you're a newbie and you have a ton of money, you want to invest in REOs. I still don't recommend it as much, because there's a lot of rules and regulations that come with them. And if you don't know what you're getting into, you can spend money and you'll have the property, but you could still have a headache on your hands if you don't know what to do with that property. Okay. And I'm going to go over that in a moment. I'm going to be talking about all the, the liens and, all the problems that come with REOs if they have problems. And they need all this work, and you put the cash into the deal, but not realizing after that's over, you may have to go down to the county courthouse and pay $3,000 or $4,000 in fines and, all these other things that go along with it. And those are the things that most people don't talk about. All right. Now, let's get started here. Why do investors like them? And that's a really good question. You got to ask yourself, why does an investor like, REO properties? And the answer is simple. If they can buy them in bulk, they generally can get a good discount on them, and they can turn around and either flip them to someone else, or they can hold them and build their portfolio to a massive amount. That's the power of buying, these type of properties. And one of the biggest companies that do it, and I would say one of the biggest hedge fund companies in the world is called Blackstone. The reason I'm bringing up Blackstone is because what you guys need to know about Blackstone is, they've been around a long time. And if you can find a way to bridge the gap, to get a good list and bridge the gap as the broker, if you will, if you're the middle guy that brokers the deal to Blackstone, you can become a multimillionaire just with the method I'm going to share with you today. All right. By getting those REOs and getting them over to a big company like Blackstone that can buy in bulk. They can buy 500 at a time, 1,000 at a time. All right. And you make, let's say you make 1,000 on each property, right? So if you get $1,000 on each property, but you sell 500 of them to Blackstone, that's $500,000 in profit that you would make. Let me say that again. If you get the properties in bulk, you structure the deal where by the time you get over to Blackstone, Blackstone pays you a broker fee of $1,000 per deal. You have 500 properties times 1,000. You do the math. That's $500,000 you made on one brokering transaction. So that's why investors like them. Big time hedge fund companies like Blackstone, and there's some other investors too. They may not be at their level, but these investors have 10 and 20 and $30 million to invest in tons and tons of REOs to sit on and hold them for a couple of years and resell them, or just get them and flip them to someone else. But that's why they like them. All right. Secondly, can you make a ton of money with them? And I just told you can. I answered that question before I asked it. If so, what is the strategy? Now the strategy is to find a company that can buy in bulk. Can you buy them individually? Or would you? Let me just tell you what I would do. If you don't have the ability, if you don't have a buyer that can buy, I would say 5 to 10 at a time, forget it. don't get into REOs unless you're going to buy the property yourself, fix it up, flip it later, or you're going to do what we call a double closing. And I did a whole video on double closing as well. Double closing is basically saying you're going to come in, you're going to put the property under contract if they will allow you to. Find a transactional funder. So the property is worth 200 grand. If you can get it under contract for 100, you know, you have the transactional funder come in and loan you the money for 72 hours for that 100 grand, right? And then you take those funds, you basically get yourself an end buyer in place. And you not only, it's not an assignment, but you take possession of it when you buy it. For 72 hours, you put that property in your LLC, you set up your end buyer, and you're gonna basically sell it to him him or her within 72 hours without them knowing that you just bought it, basically. So you would take it. It's almost like an assignment, but it's better because on the assignment, they get to see what you're making. They get to see the assignment fee in the middle. With a double closing, they don't see that. So you bought it for $100,000 technically because it went in your LLC. You got the transactional funding. You turn around and you sold it to the end buyer for $135,000. So you made a $35,000 profit at closing. You pay back the transactional funder plus the interest, whatever they ask you, 3 or 4 points, and you get to pocket over 30 grand in your own pocket. No sweat. So that's what I would do. I would do a double closing with REOs, or I would focus, guys, I would focus on making the big money. The only way to do that is hedge funds, okay? Now, I always tell you guys, Google's gonna be your best friend. So let's go to Google really quick, okay? Let's take a peek here. Now here's what I typed in. I typed in hedge fund companies who are buying real estate. Now, again, Google's your best friend. You have to be very targeted when you're using Google. All right, now that this technology is out, guys, you don't need to read a ton of books anymore like you used to. You don't have to go to a ton of private webinars or seminars to get this information. It's right there on Google. So I typed that in and look what came up. So you see a lot of information on it. At the top here, you see a couple companies here. And I opened some windows up here, so I'll show you what they look like. Okay, here's a good one here. Hedge list. Look at this. Let me just let you guys look at this. Basically, you can buy a list. See that? You buy it if you want to, if you think it's worth it. So for $157, guess what you get? Now this is what I would call guerrilla marketing, this technique I'm showing you right here. Do you know how much money it would cost you to actually go and get access to this many hedge fund companies? They're real legit companies. You'd have to do a lot of research. You have to jump through a bunch of hoops. And a lot of this information, guys, is private. People don't talk about it. We all know who Blackstone is. They're the biggest, right? But there's so many other companies that buy real estate. But look at this. I mean, so it's $157 here. You buy the list, and you have a list of 157 most hedge fund companies they're worth multiple millions of dollars. Some of them are in the billions. So that's one of the most powerful techniques I just showed you. You want to get some serious buyers on your list? You need to buy a hedge fund buyers list, and you're good to go. All right, and specifically for REOs. Okay, you can reach out to them about multifamily and hotels and everything, but this particular niche I'm talking about with REOs, they like REOs for mainly a couple of reasons. Number one, with REOs, they can get almost a steal on them if they get 100 at a time. You can't always do that with multifamily. You might be able to get a pretty decent discount, but you're not going to get a big discount if you buy 100 hotels. They're gonna hold their value. Marriott, Four Seasons, it doesn't matter what it is. They're going to hold their value. But if you buy 100 or 200 or 300 single family properties around the country and a conglomerate deal, you can get a big discount. That's why hedge funds they're investing billions in them. But this is how you do it, okay? You go right here. And if I were you, I would write down that website. The website is called hedgefundlist.dpdcart.com / okay? So there you go. That's it right there. And guys, I'm telling you things that I've done for myself, and I'm telling you ways to circumvent the learning curve, ways to get out of, having to go to somebody else and work with this person. Unless you have a mentor that has this kind of access, then you could be spinning your wheels. And thankfully I had tons of mentors that helped me and taught me this stuff. And they sometimes they gave me the list too. They gave me some of their lists and some of their, their access. All right. But that's what you would do. So let's go back here again. So they came up. That's the first one. Some of these other ones are not that good. It's just, this is not really good here. They're just, you gotta enter all your information in there. I'm gonna close that one. But this is really good. Here's one here. ProtectServices.com. You want to contact them and see what they do. Let's see what they're doing here. A real estate valuation company. Okay, that's all we do. So they evaluate. So they don't really provide buyers. Okay, so that you wouldn't deal with them. Here we go. Here's the big one, guys. Here's the head honchos, I would say, right? Blackstone. Now here's the issue with Blackstone. They've been bombarded by tons. I'm pretty sure daily, thousands and maybe 100,000 a day. We don't know, of investors, wholesalers, and brokers. They want to get in business with these people. They want to do, send them good deals. So they have a lot of people coming at them. So if I were you, when you contact Blackstone, you need to write them a letter or send them an email and say, hey, listen, you want to structure, be very humble about it, but be straight to the point. Hey, listen, I'm an up and coming investor, wholesaler, and I get a really good off market REO list twice a month, and I'm willing to sell these properties to you at a very good discounted rate. If you're interested, please contact me, leave your phone number, and keep it very simple, because remember, they have so many people coming at them. Now, it's one word that I don't like to use, because I don't like to use the word luck, but for the sake of everybody listening, it's called the luck. Some people say the luck of the draw. All you can do is try. But if you get this list right here, you don't really need to rely on Blackstone. Because you'll have some other guys you can communicate with. But Blackstone is just that big. They're just that powerful. All right. Because basically they have over $140 billion in assets. But you get them on your team, you partner with them as a broker, you bring them deals, you're set for life. I mean, just think, if you get one deal done a year, right, of 500 properties, okay, at $1,000, I just said before, that's $100,000. Or let's say you went and you did 10 deals a month with them. You just send them 10 properties a month. I doubt they buy that few at one time. But if you did, at $1,000 a piece, that's $10,000 per month just for brokering the deal. Just for brokering the deal, you get that little $1,000 off the top on each deal. That's how that works, okay? But that's what you would do. I mean, guys, if you want to dominate in this business, especially in REOs, think big. Don't do the small stuff. It's not worth it. It's not worth your time, okay? And that was a strategy. And a lot of times when I'm talking, I get really into it. I answer the question before I even ask it. So what would be the strategy? I just told you. You would email them, be very professional, make sure you're using a legitimate email, all right? And just say, hey, listen, I'm up and coming in the business. I'm just repeating it again. And I'm interested in doing business with you. I get a very good new updated off-market REO list twice a month. I'm looking to joint venture with you to get these over to you and wholesale them to, not wholesale, that's not the word. And I can get them to you at a discounted rate. You don't want to say the word wholesale. Even though it is wholesaling, you're basically brokering the deal. That's a better word to use. We want to broker them out to you guys at a very discounted rate if you buy them in bulk. And then you leave it just like that and say, hey, if you're interested, please contact me here at this number. That's all you do, okay? What would be a great deal on an REO if I'm not the cash buyer? Now, if you're not a cash buyer, like I said before, and I'm speaking for the sake of newbies, just stay away from these right now. If you're in my group, you're being mentored by me and all that, to save yourself the headache, all right? But if you're not the cash buyer and you know someone who is a buyer and they're more on a smaller level, they can't buy in bulk, all right? You have to make sure that, I always go back to the one thing, the 70-30 rule. So if you see an REO property and, ARV is $100,000, all right, and it needs like $10,000 worth of work. You need to pick that property up between 50 and 60, so that when you assign it to the end buyer, if it's possible, because sometimes depending on where you get the REO list from, you cannot assign some of these properties sometimes. If you can't assign it, you have to do a double closing, right? But the ARV has to be there, so you need to pick it up for 50 or 60. Okay, so you sign a contract with the seller. All right, bring in the transactional funder, pick it up for 60,000, 72 hours in your LLC. 72 hours later, go ahead and turn around, resell it to the end buyer for 70 and make your 10,000 and get out of the way. I would say $5,000 to $10,000 would be decent. But again, there's so much work involved sometimes in REOs. It can be a mess. It can be a headache. All right, but I would not do a deal for less than, I would say seven to 10,000. That's me personally on these. All right. But again, we're focusing on the big stuff, all right? Now, here's another good question. Where do I get REO deals from? Where do I find them? Well, the best place to look for them, in my opinion, is you should get them from, my biggest success has been through people that work on the inside of the auction houses. One of my mentors, he's like the vice president in one of these, I can't say the name of the company, one of these companies below here. And let's just open these up so you can look at them and see what they have. See that? This is Hubzu's website. Let's go back. That's Zone's website and pull that up. Okay. You see the properties here. And yeah, he's vice president of one of these sites, auction.com. Let's pull that up. And me and him we have a really good business relationship together. So whenever we want property, whenever I want something, I contact him, or if I see something online, if I get a buyer that wants something, I can have him pull it directly off the site. Now there is a fee associated when you're dealing with these companies and they pull the property offline. Most of the auction houses want $5,000 to $6,000 to pull that property off of the website so other people can't bid for it. So your buyer has to understand they're going to have to pay that fee. But if the property is low enough and the profitability is still there, they could care less. I'll give you an example. The property's worth, $100,000. All right. And, the bid, not the starting bid, but it's the reserve bid, because the reserve amount is what's important. It's a reserve number, which means that the auction house won't take less than that number. Sometimes the reserve bid is like 50% of what the property is worth. In most cases, somewhere in there. It's worth 100, right? They'll let you take it off the market for 50. But you got to pay that $4,000 to $5,000 fee, whatever it is. So that's 55 grand. And then you have to factor in, and then when they pull it off, you have to tell your end buyer, hey, listen, it's $5,000 to $6,000 for me to pull it. My fee is a $1,000 broker fee. And then you must tell them, depending on where they get those off market, where they get these from. Some of them have a buyer's premium and sometimes $2,500 is a buyer's premium to hold that property. And then sometimes there's one more fee. It's called the earnest money deposit. Sometimes that could be between $1,000 and $2,500, which lets the seller know, lets the auction house know that you guys are serious, and your buyer needs to be able to perform and put that money in escrow. Why? Because when push comes to shove, all the paperwork gets done. It could be a waste of time to find out that they were a tire kicker. So they got to be able to perform at the beginning. That's why they charge these extra fees. It all depends on which one of these websites you go through, because everybody's laws are different. But that's basically it, guys. That's all I wanted to share with you today. And the most important thing you need to know about REOs is you want to buy them in bulk if you're a cash buyer. If you're not a cash buyer, the most important thing to remember is focus on finding big time buyers like hedge fund companies, and you broker the deal. That's how you make money with these. I don't do small talk with REOs, guys, because there's too much red tape. All right. So, here's the good thing. You find someone like Blackstone, anywhere halfway their caliber, can buy $1 million or $2 million per year, of inventory. You're good to go. All right. But one of the things about REOs that I want you to know is, one of the things that I've learned about them is a lot of people like them because, most of the REO lists are from properties all over the country. You know, the list I get are all 50 states in most cases. So some REOs are like 20,000, 15,000. So the numbers are very attractive and people like them. So you get their attention, but sometimes if they're not buyers, they could be wasting time. But they do drum up a lot of business, and a lot of people are interested. But you need to get that one buyer, the two buyers, or whatever. You go here and you pay for this list and get yourself a bunch of hedge fund buyers, and that will take you to millionaire status if you just find one. All right. But a couple other things to note about this. I currently work with a company right now, and I've been working with them for a little while now. And I know the closing supervisor, and I know the company name. It's a company. I'm not going to say the company's name on this module. It's something that whenever you guys are ready, I have this title company. I know the supervisor there. I will give you the name and I'll give you the number, and I'll do a conference call with you to introduce you to the person that does it. Okay. She does double closings in all 50 states on REOs. Right? She charges certain fees, but she's really, really good at what she does. But I don't want to just send anyone over there and just throw that out there. But they're a very credible company. There's certain states that they don't work with if that state doesn't have a closing attorney. But 95% of the states they can do. All right, that's all I'm going to say. So if you're interested in this and you're ready to move forward, and you got yourself, you know, the end buyer, like a hedge fund company, and you want to start getting properties, and you want to have somewhere, you want to have a title company that will do the deals. And most of them most of the states have their own closing attorneys that work with us. There's only like 3 or 4 that don't. Contact me and let me know. All right? And we can work together. Again, if you're just watching this module and you are not a personal student of mine, you're just buying to get the content, go to my website, go right here, and contact me, and just email me and say, hey, Jimmie, I want to talk to you about this. Send me an email, all that. Here's my personal email right here, okay? Now, if you want mentorship on something and you're part of the mentorship program, instead of admin, it will be mentoring@jwacquisitionsanddevelopment.com. Guys, this is probably the most powerful module I've done so far. This is by far one of the easiest ways to become rich doing this. All you do is you find the hedge fund companies, you get the list, you negotiate, you find someone who can help you negotiate the deal. You don't need to make a ton of money on each REO property, maybe $500 to $1,000 per property. But the key here is volume. Volume wins, okay? And when they buy big, they can keep price low. The hedge fund company's happy. Everybody's happy, okay? All right, guys, that's it. And I'll see you all at the top and on the next video. Bye-bye.